Good morning and welcome to this morning's edition of Berardi and Coke. I'm Gilly and I'm joined by Jay. How are you getting on this morning? Are you all right?
Well, I'm a bit out of sync with a camera, which kind of sums up my last 24 hours. I'm all right. I had an eventful night. Took me 3 hours to get to Leicester, thanks to the traffic.
Nice.
Part of that was just getting out of Bradford because everybody wants to get out of Bradford, and there's roadworks.
Always.
So it's made it
not yesterday, so just always.
No, it's made it worse. The roadworks. So it's I got sat in some traffic and thought, "Fuck this!" I went a different way, and it was worse. And then I got to Leicester eventually after someone nearly wiped me out on motorway because he tried to speed up when I was trying to merge into a lane. You know when they try to close the door on you,
right?
I just thought, what a dickhead. So I did it anyway. And he flashed his lights at me. Got to Leicester, found roadworks again, missed a turn, ended up getting into the game about 10 minutes in.
So you missed first 10 minutes at
I missed the first penalty shout. I missed Piro's couple of efforts that he had, which I think were all he did for the entire game. Then it got to half time and Leeds fans were scrapping with each other in concourse, which were fucking brilliant. And if you were doing that, you're a fucking knobhead because there's kids and stuff around in there. And if you're that fucking bothered about getting a beer faster or whatever it is that set you off, then you should probably stay at home. But I ended up wearing a fucking Copperberg when someone nearby got fucking involved and he squeezed his fucking pint and it all went up in air. I got my beer
and then
again. So
what you let back into the stand for second.
And then the police then won't let us back into the stand. They were keeping us all on that. Have you been to Leicester?
I think the only time I ever went was when I was a very, very young man, and we went to the old ground at Filbert Street.
Okay. Well, they've got these weird staircases up to the top bit of the stand, and you go up and round and back on yourself. And I got most of the way up there, then discovered, oh yeah, that's it, because they're blocking entrance up at top. So I was just stuck in a stairwell then for like 5-10 minutes, and then got 5 minutes or something. Got into the second half on about 53 minutes, and then after that on the way home, I got flashed by a camera on some traffic lights, which I went through on amber. So I'll be challenging that fucker if it comes.
Amber means stop, James.
Stop if it's safe to do so, Gilly.
Amber means
if it's
stop.
safe to do so. Now, just before this happened, my car decided to play up, lost all electrical power and won't start at one point while I was in the middle of the road blocking traffic. So to me, it didn't feel safe to stop just in case. So that's what I'll be telling them. And I can't afford any more points either, so... But
right,
yeah.
So amongst all of that,
but I'm doing great otherwise.
Amongst all of that, Leeds managed 3 points. We'll run an intro. We'll get into that.
So did I.
Hi, this is Don Matteo, and then you are listening to the Ought to Know Better podcast. Let's do this.
You look like fucking Brolin, you're a Leeds hating bastard. Look like some sort of fucking weird floating head. No. He's a utensil player a bit, innit?
I mean, I feel a bit right, dickhead.
Nothing spectacular, really.
And we can run counter to that nothing spectacular really now, because I've had some stick for I know you said it, but I've had some stick for putting it in the intro and has not been spectacular ever since.
I mean, the context I said it in were never meant to be applied that way, but, you know.
It wasn't. But I've had some stick for that. And do you know what? I think last night, we can say, I think a lot of people expected a lot of goals in last night's game. And maybe there should have been a couple more, given the attacking forces that were on show last night. But I think from a perspective of the actual overall game, in fact, well, actually, I was just about to say, let's start with the first half, and we'll start with the first 10 minutes. I'll take this bit, Jay.
Yeah, you better do, yeah. I have watched the highlights since.
Right, okay. So I don't know if you'd managed to read it, because I know you were travelling down, but I'd said when I were giving my predictions in the group chat before the game, I'd said that if we're at it right from the outset, and we're not that slow out of the traps, and we're not that, if we're at it right at the outset, I think we'll take it by the odd goal. And if we're not, then it's probably that we're going to be losing by more than that. And right from the outset, 100% right from the outset, we were at it. You could just feel it. It was just so obvious we were at it. And I think, you mentioned Pirot in just the opening statements there around. He's there to score. So I shared my frustrations immediately on Twitter, as we are wont to do, and said, "That's what he's fucking there for." Was the kind of that was the feeling at that point in time, because we were so dominant. I think the first 10 minutes we were so they couldn't get out of their half. Absolutely could not get out of their half, and all of the play.
On the highlights, it looked like all us initially.
Absolutely, all of the play were in
quite a
in
contrast from how we normally start.
Or the middle third.
Yeah,
absolutely, it is. So it surprise is probably a bit strong, but we were at it and we were on the front foot and we were closing them down. And to give Pirot his dues, he was doing that as well. He was doing the closing and the pressing, which I think a lot of people have criticised him for not doing quite as readily as the other players around him have been.
Yeah,
his effort wasn't that great. You've seen the highlights, so you'll have seen the effort.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, I was shocked actually about how badly off target he was.
Yeah, that is what he's there for, isn't he? He's there to score them.
I mean, you can forgive like the odd one like that, because it's going to happen. And if you're only getting a few chances in a game, chances are now and again you're going to miss it one. You know what I mean? But he hasn't scored for a few games now, and you start to think, how much is he contributing at the moment? And I'm not saying I don't want him in the team or any of that bollocks. Like I've heard people saying, oh, we shouldn't have signed him. He will score. He will come good again. He will score goals. But it's going to be one of them where we're going to have to just put up with these periods, I think, where he doesn't get any for 2 or 3 games now and then. It's just going to be the way it is. And he's going to be anonymous in some games till he does score. But as long as he scores, that's okay.
If you look at Rutter's game, and in the past we've talked about Bamford at length, and the other element to their game is, Paddy the non-scoring 9, and then Rutter the non-scoring 9 has been a bone of contention for a lot of people. But Paddy was occupying defenders, and he was pulling people around, and we were scoring from midfield, and we were scoring from out wide.
Don't get me started on him last night.
And Rutter not scoring, but he's dropping deep and he's building play. Straight into me that we're playing somebody in the 9 that's not going to score goals. He's just not going. I mean, I know he scored last night, fair play.
Yeah.
And I think he had to be in the right position to score that goal, and I think it's great that he was. But you look at him playing, and although he starts off in a 9, he's dropping deep, and Pirot's pulling forward, and it's whatever else. Yeah. Actually, it feels like we're not playing with a 9 at most of the time. But because of the rest of his game, those goals and the fact that he's getting assists. The fact that he's not leading the goal scoring chart for us is largely irrelevant as long as somebody else is getting the goals. But that's what Pirot's there to do. And the rest of his game, for me, is so limited. It's a level that not getting the goals, he's always going to come under fire and get stick for not getting them.
Yeah, well, that's going to happen as a striker, isn't it? Because that's, like you said, that's what he's there for. I tell you, last night,
because he doesn't occupy the defenders in the same way.
Yeah.
It's that he's going to get a bit more stick when he's not scoring the goals than other players might if they're providing input in other ways.
Yeah, and I mean, neither of them are doing the same thing up front that Bamford does, where he sort of bullies his way around and makes his presence felt. We don't have that when he's not on the pitch, but God, he pissed me off last night. I mean, he couldn't even keep a ball in the corner. He couldn't even do that right. And I think this will sound weird after what he's done recently, but I think last night, that was the moment I really did lose the last ounce of faith I had in that man. I don't care.
You had it?
Yeah. I don't care for what he supposedly brings to the team. I don't care anymore. I don't want it. I think the cost of it is too high.
Okay. I mean, he's not going anywhere, so
I know he's not.
You can feel how you want to feel about him. He's not changing out.
I'd rather not see him. It can exist somewhere else in the ether. Can sit at Thorpe Arch in canteen.
Okay. I mean, he's going to stay on the bench and he's going to keep coming on.
Oh, I know he is, but I'm not going to like it. So, You know, I'm sure he don't give a fuck while he gets his 30, 40k a week still, but you know.
I mean, fair enough. That's fine. I think so. You know, the first 10 minutes we were definitely at it, 100%. There was just this overall feeling that we're in this game, and we've come. Farker had said before that they weren't going to be passive and they were going to be front foot about it, and you could see right from the outset that they were. My major concern, especially when you've got the person that you look to for scoring the majority of the goals, misses like that. Top in that way in somebody else's backyard that's won 9 for the league, and you're thinking, shit, we really, really need to take advantage of this position that we're in, because at some point they're going to come good.
I can barely see you, by the way. You're going like blurry because your camera's all low bandwidth. You keep freezing.
Oh, shit. It looks fine at this end. We'll carry on.
People in comments can tell us whether it's me or Gilly.
You can have the chat with you can have the chat with Matt, and I'll try and sort things out in the background. But I think that was the big. When you're on top, you need to be able to take advantage of that and push that advantage, and you need to take your chances. And it almost felt, it's that head in the hands of shit. If we don't score while we're on top, we're going to end up just ruining those missed chances. And I think that was the biggest surprise to me, actually, is that we just stayed front foot throughout the entire game.
I was shocked at how good we defended, because that right winger absolutely terrorised us at times.
Yeah.
And they were just like, they were ripping our defence apart. They were in there every time. He were into the box, he were putting a cross in, or he were playing a pass to the edge of the box, and he were beating his man nearly every time. But we stood up and we kept him out, and we closed guys down before they could get shots away. And it was frustrating at times how deep we were sitting. The crowd were all screaming, "Get out, Leeds, get out!" But they were doing what they were told to do, and they obviously did it well. It worked, and Leicester must have been frustrated as hell. And I have to say, for a team that's flying the way they are, their fans were poor. And they went behind. They all shut up. I mean, before that, there were flags waving, drum were going,
Clappers.
People were giving it. Yeah, they're all shouting and bawling and waving the fucking stupid things. And that goal went in, and it just went quiet, and it just stayed like that. And our end were just insane. And honestly, the stand were moving. It were bouncing. Like everyone was jumping down. You could feel the ground beneath you going like this, and it was bizarre. And for a moment, I was like, oh, shit. What if this collapses and we all die? And then I thought, fuck it, and started jumping up and down with them.
You are right, though. The Fatu, my main concern was Byram got booked really early in the game. I think we were only 20 odd minutes in, and Fatu's already had him on toast a couple of times. It's booked, and you think
you're freezing on us a bit, mate.
Back? Yeah. I tell you what, let's bring Matt in, and I'll drop out for a second, see if I can sort things out. You guys can have a quick
Go turn that Roblox off. You all right there, Matt?
Yeah, I'm good.
What's going on?
No, not much, really.
Okay, now. Is it me or Gilly that were freezing?
Gilly.
Oh, good. Because there's been no problems for me recently, so I thought it were him, but, I didn't want to say for definite, because anything can happen on this podcast. We all have technical gremlins. What time's it there, Matt?
10:50.
At night, yeah?
Yeah.
I don't know why I asked you that, of course it is. Where did you watch the game?
The radio.
International radio or radio?
The visual radio. They got that new thing.
Yeah. It's brilliant in this day and age, isn't it? The technology that they've created. What did you think then overall? Like, were you upset with any performances?
No, I think everyone played
outstanding.
I didn't. There's no one that really played bad. I was impressed with Somerville tracking back, especially because he's had problems recently.
Yeah,
and him actually tracking back up a lot.
He was like a complete player last night. He was everywhere. He was defending. He was attacking, and he were really unlucky, I think, not to get a decent shot on goal, because he had some opportunities there. And that one late on, when Dan James decided to shoot, he should have played Somerville in.
I I think that was the idea, though. I think that's like a training ground play that we have. Like he runs through and then he goes around and just hits it. But...
I mean, it worked for him last week, didn't it? They did something similar, and James shot and he scored. But this time, no dice. So, what did you think of Leicester?
They weren't as good as what their fans were talking about. How good they were going to be. Like they were talking about, they're going to smash us.
I know.
That was great. I saw someone on, I think it was on Twitter. Someone said like, "Oh, we should have won. You had one shot on target."
Oh, I know. Their manager a bit salty, wasn't he? Apparently, I've not actually seen his post-match interview yet, but apparently he thought they should have won the game.
He said something about like, "Oh, we're not the best team that they played" or something. I don't know.
Well, we're one of the ones that's beat them, so I'll take that. Do you know what I mean? Who is the best team? Hull.
I don't even think he said Hull. I think he. I don't even know who he said. I think he. I don't know.
God knows. I mean, he's obviously a decent manager, is Maresca. He's done a good job there, but it's also one of those, like, sometimes you'll see somebody dropped into something, a bit like maybe Gerrard at Rangers, where the squad's that good, it can't really fail.
True, yeah.
And you don't know how much of it is that coach and how much of it is just the fact that it's a good side, a good squad of players. And, I mean, we know which one it was with Gerrard now, but Maresca, the jury's still out for him. But, I mean, they're riding the crest of a wave, aren't they? It's one of those, it's all going well, and you just don't change much, do you, in that situation?
No.
We have to hope that, you know, this might maybe disrupt them a little bit and they start losing a few games. I mean, I don't see it. No, I think they'll just carry on. I think they'll just carry on as they were, personally. But it's good to, you know, find a chink in the armour of a side that's flying like that and maybe plant a little bit of doubt.
Yeah. I think Ipswich both of them. Ipswich will probably fall off. But
yeah, I think everyone thinks that.
We keep saying it and it's not happening.
Not yet. No, we beat them. We tried to derail them and they just carried on. We've beat Leicester. They'll probably just carry on. It feels like it's proper Leeds in that any other season we'd be in top two with the way we go in. But this season, just our luck, we've ended up in this situation where there's two teams absolutely killing it. I mean,
was it like record points at the moment for Leicester? And
I think so. It's
record points for a promoted team for Ipswich.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's right. Gilly might know now he's back if he's working.
Hello, can you hear me all right?
I can aim it. Yeah, that seems a lot better, actually.
I've switched laptops. This is the one that I've just taken off Young'un so that he can't play Roblox while I'm live.
You horrible man.
It is mine, not his. I'll just stress. She's taking my own back.
Does anything really belong to you when you have kids?
Well, there is that. Sorry, what was the question?
We were just talking about sort of Leicester and Ipswich and just saying about in any other season we'd be up there, wouldn't we? It's just Leeds that we've ended up in this league with two teams absolutely flying, and we've tried to derail Ipswich by beating them. We've just done the same to Leicester. We're just saying, you know, I don't think Leicester will fall off. I think they'll just carry on as they were, like Ipswich have. But it's good to plant a seed of doubt and remind these teams that they can be beaten.
It is, and they've both got to come to our place as well, which is a pretty big deal. You know, we've and I think we've been better at home than we have away, but we're beating Ipswich and Leicester.
Yeah.
Just as an extension to that, you know, Leicester had won 9 on the bounce, and I think the stat that I read, I've been away this week, so I've not really kept up with everything. But the stat that I read before I went away to last weekend was that in any other,
Ipswich frozen again,
would have been breaking the record for the best.
Oh, you're a bit glitchy, mate. Your camera's froze. Your audio's in and out.
Fantastic.
What is going on? It's time for you to get a new internet provider like me, mate, like I did. I'm smooth sailing now.
I just have. I just have. It's gigabit.
Are you still in cancellation period? I'll give him a shout if you are.
Connected to it wrong. I'm connected to the wrong Wi-Fi. That's the issue.
Oh my god! And you're like, you're in charge of a lot of IT stuff. Like you're
just
the main
stolen
man.
It off him. He's picked up my mesh internet rather than my proper one, so it will be in and out.
There we go.
Anyway,
you'll be back
I'll
in
quickly
Jesus.
make the point before I switch Wi-Fi's. Is in any other season, Ipswich would be breaking records for the best start at this level ever.
Yeah, they've done great, and it's really upsetting. You've completely froze, mate. So we're just going to carry on. But it's kind of sad, isn't it, seeing Leif Davis doing so well for them when we let him go. But I said this on the pod the other night, Matt. I think if he'd stayed at Leeds, he would have been playing under 21s instead of playing men's football, and I don't think he'd have developed the way he has if he'd stayed and done that. So I still think at the time it was probably the right move for the club to let him go because he wasn't the player he is now, and he wouldn't have got that development time. But it's sad to see someone we let go relatively cheaply doing so well, and for a rival at the top.
Yeah,
I might be back now. Fingers crossed. I'm on the
Here
right
we go.
Wi-Fi. I'm on the
You
right
are.
laptop. We'll see. Right. Sorry about that. How are we doing, Matt?
good.
Well, ask what time it is. I'm sure Jay's already had that covered.
I did, and then I
thanks,
said, "Oh, at night, yeah." And then I'm like, "Why did I ask that?" Of course, it's at night. It's in fucking Australia.
Right. So I've just got a couple of questions for Matt, if that's all right. So just in terms of the shape of the team, our team, and the personnel that we picked, I was still a little bit unsure, especially up against Mavadidi. I was still a little bit unsure about our right back position and Gray playing in there. How do you feel he got on?
I think he got on all right. I think he was actually pretty good. I mean, I saw before the game some Leeds fans on Twitter were saying, "Oh, he's not a right back after one bad game there," and I'm like, he's played like 4 or 5 good games there, and he gets one bad game, and everyone thinks he's bad, and I'm like, he's not.
I don't think anybody's saying he's a bad player, though, are they?
No, they just like people are saying, "Oh, he's not a right back," but he can play there.
Yeah, and he showed that he can last night against because Mavadidi is one of the better wingers in the league, and as a fullback, you're probably not going to have many more challenging opponents to play against than in that game. So he darts off to him. I think I was one of those that were saying he's not right back. I want to see him in midfield. But the thing about it is,
I think most of us did.
The thing about that is, you don't drop Ampadu for him because Ampadu's just romping the entire league. He's doing so well, and then Kamara got man at match.
You do not drop Glenn the Beast Kamara after that.
Well, he got man at match. So I think, we'll see who starts the next game because I think there's a few of them are nursing injuries at this point. So I think there's a few of them being coaxed in along, and I think Kamara, having played patchy numbers of games before joining us, he's still working himself back up to absolute full fitness. So it's a bit of a balancing act, but it's a great position to be in, to have too many than not enough, which is where we were before in midfield, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely,
so
yeah.
Just
I've got a quick question for you guys.
Yeah, go on.
Has anyone seen Harry Winks? Harry, where are you? No,
I was going to say you'd have to look down to find him, but you're probably about his size, aren't you?
Probably, yeah, probably. Twice the size of him that way, but, it's the same height.
So, Matt, we touched on Gray and whatever else, but in terms of man of the match, where would you
Kamara.
put you? Yeah?
Kamara, 100%.
With it.
Tell us why, Matt. Come on, we want his money's worth out of you.
I don't know. He just all over the place. Like, he did really well, like, in a good way. Like, tackling, win the ball, good part. He got into the game more, like, than what we have seen. Best performance of the season. He just did a lot.
And that's coming off another good performance for Kamara.
Jamie agrees.
Last time.
Jamie says, I really like Kamara. Strong, smooth, and confident, just like Danny Rumsey.
Is that behind closed doors?
Hey, what they get up to, mate. Consent
it's up to them. All of that. It's up to them, mate. It's up to them. And to make himself a bit important, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's not going to give it up.
No, and they need to stake a claim, don't they? We saw Gruev come on late on in the game, and I think for me he's fourth choice at the moment. But fourth choice in this midfield is, that's not really a detractor, is it? Because they're all playing so well.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's putting in a shift every game. I mean, even when we played shit at Stoke, it wasn't for lack of effort.
Yeah.
It was just one of them where stuff wasn't working, but I've not seen any games where players have not been giving it their all.
Yeah, agreed.
That says a lot for Farker and what he's managed to instill in them.
Yeah, agreed. So just a last question before we let you go then, Matt. So in terms of our strongest 11, so I think if you look at the position we're in the table and the fact that Ipswich and Leicester have been flying and so on, and you look at that in context, actually our season started off more slowly, but of course it did because we had the madness of August and the end of the transfer window.
Yeah.
But I think so. We're in a position where we're still improving, and at some point, I think that you're in a position where you're looking at your Leicester and you're looking at your Ipswich and you're thinking, are they going to be able to continue this throughout the season? But in terms of us and our shape and our setup, how far away do you think we are now from optimum?
I think we're almost there. I think we just need that performance where we get like 4 or 5 goals. Like we just need that. I mean, we've had that, but we need that. Like we just need to keep going. I feel like because after Huddersfield, having Leicester is like a difficult game. You need that like 1 or 2 games in a row where we get like 3 goals and just start smashing teams.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Jammy's just calling you out. Always like Matt Leeds, been coming on the show for a long time. Hey, it's right. We've got a few friends that join us on a fairly regular basis. So so
we're very lucky.
We'll let you get off and have a beer before bed then.
Yeah, have a good one, Matt. Have a good one, mate.
Joining us, Matt. We'll see you again soon. Cheers.
Yeah.
So we'd started talking about the first half and we got through the 10 minutes and then we've focused on a couple of elements there. I think as a built through that first half though, and I think it was clear that we were sustaining ourselves in the game. Did it really surprise you that Leicester's midfield didn't really seem to get a foothold in the game?
Yeah, big time. Like I joked about Harry Winks there, anonymous.
Yeah.
And if you listen to Locks over on Joe's channel, it's been waxing lyrical about him all season, like he's like the second coming, he's the Messiah, best midfielder in league, and all this kind of bollocks. Not on last night's evidence, he looks like a flat track bully.
Yeah, and that Casadei as well. Casadei. I'm not sure how you pronounce his name. I think it's Casadei.
Probably better than
really
Carl would have come up with.
Sorry?
It's probably a better attempt than Carl would have come up with.
Yeah, there is that. No, I think he'd been at Sampdoria last season, which means he did get relegated. But in the build-up...
right in.
Yeah, but in the build-up to the game, we were getting all the plaudits and there were a lot of people going, he's a young man and he's coming to this side and he's really made this place his own and he's been dominating opponents. I mean, him, Winks and Dewsbury Hall, I just didn't see anything from at all. And I think that was potentially the biggest surprise to me. We've spoken about Kamara, we've spoken about Ampadu, we've spoken about Gray, and they're influencing the game already. And Gray was stepping into midfield at times, which I liked as well.
Yeah.
I think from my perspective, one of the things that I really, really liked from last night is although we were only the 1 goal the better by full time, actually it wasn't, I've had a couple of people on the hook this morning that are Leicester fans saying how lucky a win it was. Yeah. Just saying how lucky a win it was. But
fuck off.
In every way. So I think if you look at the match stats, I think they had something mad like 66% possession, but it didn't feel that way because we were in control so much because they never really did anything with it. Was that echoed in the stands when you were watching? Was there that nervousness of, oh God, we haven't scored?
There was a bit because you don't want to go behind to a team like that, do you? You want to take the lead and get on the front foot with it. And there was always that worry for me personally that if we did go behind, it'd be very, very tough to get back in because they'd just shut up shop. And I was relieved when we got that first goal, but then the subsequent 30, 35 minutes or whatever after that were maybe the most tense 35 minutes of football I've watched in years. Like, I don't think I even felt that tense when we were like battling to stay up last season. I was just on edge. I couldn't settle. You could feel it in the air, It's like the atmosphere were just like it were on a knife edge, and you could just feel that people were shitting it right the way through because their attack was relentless at that point, and some of that was down to them playing well, but a lot of it was down to our tactics, I think, and that we were letting them attack, and because we weren't closing down when they had the ball in their half and stuff. We weren't running to the keeper, we weren't running to the first man, challenging. We were staying in formation, in position, waiting for them to make a move, and then we were soaking it up and trying to counter. And I think Parker got that spot on, because if we had gone at them, we'd have left ourselves wide open, and players like Winks, like Dewsbury Hall, they would have loved that.
Yeah.
Berardi didn't get a look in. You wouldn't have known he were on pitch.
No, that's true. There was just one time they did get away with it, and Melier just made a save, but there were Vardy pushed. He had two hands on Rodon's back, and he pushed him under the ball, and Rodon kind of went under the ball, and he just got a toe on it, and it just trickled through to Melier. And that was really the only time we saw Vardy doing anything. They couldn't pick him out at all. And I think a lot of that is because of our shape and because of the fact, so Hermansen, I don't know if you saw it. I can't remember how early on in the game it was, but Hermansen really brought the ball out and almost gave it away outside his box.
Yeah, I think that was just before I got in, but I've seen it on the highlights. Right. But yeah, that was risky. He nearly got it nicked off him, didn't he?
Yeah, very much so. And there was no defence at all around him. So either he brings down the man and it's a straight red card, or it's a goal. But that is what they wanted. They really, really wanted us, not just on the front foot in choosing when we engage, but they wanted us to engage with the keeper and then push the full back. So that they could open up that space. And I think that is what we did really well. We compressed that. And that's why, I get what you mean in terms of how tense it was, because when it's 0-0 or 1-0, it's always tense.
Yeah.
But I think in the context of the game, we never looked like we were out of control. They had a lot of the ball and it was relentless pressure at certain points. But it still never felt like they were doing much with it, if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense. Like you could tell they were trying to tempt us to come out of position to them. Like the keeper were coming further and further on as the game progressed. So I just think we were really disciplined, and I was really impressed by that. Like nobody got carried away, nobody forgot what they were supposed to be doing. Don't die, mate. And
that wrong goal.
I have
nearly spat it back out again.
Jesus Christ. I have to say, Somerville really impressed me, because I mentioned this to Matt while you were sorting your equipment out.
Calm down.
But I mean, Somerville were like a complete player last night. He were defending, he were attacking, he was staying where he was supposed to be. He wasn't getting dragged into anything. I mean, the only time he kind of lost his cool when he stood up to one of their players and had a little Barney with him there.
Oh, but I loved that. I absolutely loved that.
I saw
likes on the tweet about it since last night.
Oh yeah,
it was Chowdhury. Now, just before it, Chowdhury had made a really good tackle, but then during that period, he kind of shoved into Somerville and then grabbed him. And Somerville were having none of it at all and suplexed him to ground.
I saw a little bit of a Leicester fan thing earlier, and this guy is just like, Somerville, you're filthy. He's got to go. Whoa! It was great. It was great. Right, enjoyed it.
That's even better, isn't it? Not only did we beat them in their own backyard and stop them getting their 10th win in a row, which would be a club record for them.
Yeah.
But Somerville literally bullied a man twice his size.
He did. He absolutely did. And it were ace. Like the atmosphere was just amazing. Like I didn't leave for a while after. I was just like jumping up and down still. I think Melier has not been talked about enough for that save either.
Well, yeah, no, I was going to come on
tell you what,
towards the end, but we'll do it now. I mean, it is a big deal, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I was stood there, and when you see stuff in slow motion, you see that ball come over, and you see someone go up and it heads towards goal, and it's stoppage time, and you should have it wrapped up, and you're like, and then it's like, and then he saves it, and you're just like, oh my god, it was just insane. It was like scoring a goal.
It was. No, it absolutely was like that.
It won the game.
It was worth a goal because that was the difference between 3 and 1 point.
That's it.
So yeah, absolutely, it really does. And I think
he
that
gets his stick, but
yeah, and I've been one of them. Yeah, I've been one of them that is that has been a detractor of his recently because not last season, but this season. Last season you just need to leave in the past now, don't you? This season there's been a few where you're thinking it's his decision making and that's what he needs to improve on. And it's his concentration because we are going to dominate teams in this league and we are going to dominate the ball. I mean, we didn't last night, but that's against another side that's been relegated. So, but there are going to be a lot of games where dominating possession and he's going to be stood having not very much to do. That comes down to concentration levels. And I think discipline, concentration, those are all things that I think we saw all over the park last night. The front line not getting too heated and the passion and whatever else running through them to go and press the ball, actually keeping their shape and keeping in that position, and then the midfield giving them that platform to build on, and the defense. I think the overall best performer on the pitch probably wasn't wearing a Leeds shirt, which says a lot, given that we won the game. But I think Pereira, especially at this level, I think Pereira is a really, really talented player.
Yeah.
I thought he did really well. And I think down that right-hand side where you had Pereira picking up Jimmy and you had Fatu that were playing on Byram, that's where, if they were going to be dangerous, that's where that were going to be coming from. And that really says a huge amount for Dan James.
I didn't see Pereira on the team sheet. Oh, yeah, he's right back, isn't he? I'm looking at the wingers and thinking that's...
No, right back. Yeah, no, Pereira at right back and then Fatu in front of him.
I'm looking at it thinking, he's not one of the wingers. And I'm like, of course he's not. He's fucking right back.
But he handled Jimmy really, really well, was my point. So I think he's been playing at left back, actually, in recent games, and they've switched him to the right to pick up Jimmy.
Right.
And so I think on their right, so Fatu really did have Byram on toast a couple of times in first half, and you look at that and how well Pereira played. Pereira, Jimmy's probably been the most effective winger in the league so far this season.
Yeah.
And Pereira's playing on him, and then you've got Fatu that had played well. So on their right hand side, actually, is where a lot of their danger came from. Whereas you're looking on their left, and Justin's not the player that Pereira is, but Mavididi and Dewsbury Hall tend to operate in that wide left role. That's I think Dewsbury Hall's clear now in terms of the assists in the league, and they did very, very little on that left hand side, and I think that says a lot for how well both Dan James and Archie Gray played together.
Definitely. I thought Archie did really good last night. Probably his best performance at that position.
Yeah, especially against, as I say, against the opposition he were up against. But I think Dan James is another one that's had a lot of detractors. And I think if you look at his assists and you look at his impact in terms of stats, you can be fooled for thinking, do you know what, this guy's a flying winger. He's doing all of this and he's doing all of that. If you don't watch our games, but he's really quite passive in some of our games. And actually, a lot of his corners last night, he wasn't beating the first man. It was the same old frustrations. Then the goal came from his cross. Byram came in with a stonking run.
That header.
Yeah. I mean, the header itself, it's really strange. It comes off his shoulder. It does get his head to it, but then it comes off his shoulder.
Okay.
The mountain spills it at his feet, and then obviously it would have tapped him for any one of the three that were stood there waiting for it. I don't know how that's worked, that you've got a defender running through that's completely unmarked in Byram, and then you've got three attackers in the 6-yard box all unmarked. That's usually us defending like that.
It is, yeah. It's because they keep people out waiting to break, don't they?
Yeah.
Get back at the other end. So,
Pereira played really well and kept Jimmy quite quiet throughout. And then you had Fatu that played well on Byram. So I think we did really well, actually, to get through that point of danger because, as I said,
cheers, morning, mate.
As I said early on in the coverage we've done, I was really worried when Byram got that booking, and I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute, he's already been done twice by this fella that he's playing against. How are we going to cope with that?
That's the thing that fills you with dread, isn't it? Seeing your fullback get a booking early because they can't put a foot wrong then, and against tricky players like they had, it's really difficult to,
especially when he already had the upper hand.
Yeah, exactly.
But actually, I think that's where Ampadu and Struijk did really well to back him up. Because at no point were he then isolated one-on-one where he had been in previous elements, but they needed that coverage. And I think that's just it's a footballing IQ thing. It's an experience thing. And, we've been talking about leadership in the side. And, even Ampadu himself, I know he's captained Wales, but he's a young player. Struijk's got our armband on, but he's a young player that don't have the experience of a lot of the other players. But that took a lot of experience to see that point of risk and think, right, okay, this is how we're going to handle that and not leave him isolated again, so that he didn't feel like he needed to, because he's only making those challenges. He knows what's coming, Byram. He is experienced. He knows what's coming. He's only doing that because he feels like he needs to, because he's isolated one-on-one with a winger.
It's mad, isn't it, Sam Byram being a senior player at Leeds?
Well, it is.
But he's been ace. He's been ace. And
he's surprised me.
Again last night, as we say, with the fact he got through the rest of the game to the point before he was subbed. Were he subbed?
Yeah.
He was.
So
that's when Ayling came on, and
that's right.
He switched around a bit. But yeah, to get through all that without putting a foot wrong again, just it shows you the experience and the discipline he's got, and he knows when to take a risk and when not. And he was spot on, like the rest of them. To be fair,
he wasn't subbed.
Was he not?
Gray came on.
Gray came off for Ayling, didn't he? Yeah. So you had to get through the entire rest of the game. Yeah. And when you're knackered as well against guys that are running at you like that, me, it's hard, isn't it? To not just stick your leg out and hope for best when you're completely gassed and you're dead on your feet. But nobody did anything like that.
I think that's the main difference between the sides that we had towards the end of last season and the coaching that we had towards the end of last season and the coaching that we've had this season. Exactly.
There were no coaching last season, Gilly. Come on now.
No, you can see that they can go for a full 90, and I think that's the. And we mentioned about the balance. Kamara played well last night. If he plays the next game, depends on his fitness and how he's able to train in between, because you don't drop him if you don't have to. Coming off the back of a man of the match performance.
Hang on, if that's true, that's amazing.
That is true. We called out in the commentary last night.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Just Andy Aylaw saying Byram played with Archie's dad the first time at Leeds. That's a cracking stat.
So yeah, I think we're going to get into the predictions and so on in the main pod.
I'm sure we are.
But it's one of those where a lot of us, if not all of us, went for a Leeds win, probably more in hope than expectation, or more with heart than head. Let's put it that way.
And for the one time I tried to be realistic, I went for a draw instead of a Leeds win.
You didn't?
I did, yeah. I went 2-2, I think. Yeah. I didn't think we'd keep a clean sheet. I didn't think it'd be a massively high-scoring game, but I did think we'd probably cancel each other out somewhat. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. When we were 1-0 up, I wasn't hoping that they'd scored, you know what I mean? I'd rather Leeds win than I win Predictions League, so...
Well, yeah. I mean, there is that. I guess, so we've covered most of the first half and we've kind of bounced around the game anyway. But I think, in terms of the subs, because we've kind of been critical of Farke earlier in the season where he's not made changes that we felt that he needed to change.
Sometimes.
He felt right this time.
He got them right against Norwich.
Yeah.
He's got them right a couple of other times. You know what I mean? It's one of them things, isn't it? Sometimes you roll the dice, it's going to work. Sometimes it's not.
Yeah. But it felt right this time. We spoke about the shape and the discipline and so on. It felt right to not make the changes this time. And I think the changes were not using time. I think that he wanted impact from the subs. But, you're bringing in Gruev for Ruta. You're changing the shape a little bit. He's not going to be dynamic on the ball, is he? He's not that sort of player, but he's going to put himself about and he's going to make some challenges. And I felt like he did that.
You just want to keep it tight and shored up at that point, don't you? You don't want to be spraying wild passes around and trying risky things. So Gruev's fine to come on in them circumstances and just do what he does.
Yeah, and then we brought on Anthony and Nonto right at the death, and I think that was just to try and scare people.
I think it was just to run clock down a bit.
Their mind, because if they do overcommit, we are going to hit them on the break, because Anthony and Nonto fresh. They should be stripping anybody that's there. So
yeah,
it felt. I just more of a call out of anything else than I thought that it was right. It was right to make the subs in the way that he did this time.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I agreed.
Yeah.
The only thing that worried me slightly was Ayling coming on, because it always worries me. And he missed the header that his man beat him to. So, but he didn't really do it wrong. Besides that, and the guy, someone in the comments mentioned this, and I missed it actually, but people saying he were fouled because the guy climbed him.
He used him as a step ladder, big time.
Yeah, but nothing like that.
But he wasn't given
up, and this kind of brings me to something else I wanted to mention. I'm going to have an argument with Square Ball now, because I listened to them earlier, and they said they thought the ref was good, and I'm absolutely taken aback by that, because I thought he was shocking, and the linesman was shocking. Where we were in the corner near our goal in the first half, one of their attacks, the winger went right to the byline. The ball went 2 inches out, and the liner was like this. And he said nothing. He said not. We could see it in the stand. You could clearly see it ball cross the line. Didn't give anything. Just let him keep going. There were a couple of fouls he gave him that were bullshit. There were the penalty shouts, although they were probably a bit soft, having seen them again.
I think the first one, for me, is a penalty, because Rutter's got in front of his man, and then he's had his heel clipped. And
I think by the letter of the law it is, yeah.
But
it would have been a soft one. But you take it.
The second one actually is what Farke got himself booked for, and I don't think that's a penalty any day of the week.
He must have thought it was.
Yeah. To be fair, on first watch, I can see why you were fuming about it, but when you see it back, I don't think that one is the one on Jimmy, because I think it might be Pereira actually. It does put his hand on him, then he takes his hand off him, and he's not grabbed his shirt or anything like that. He's put his hand on him and gone, "No shit, I can't do that. He's in front of me."
Yeah,
and then like half a second later, Jimmy starts going down, and you're thinking, that's not a pen. You need to be trying to stay on your feet. So that one for me, definitely not. The first one for me, that should be a pen. When you're looking at, as you said in the letter of the law, the man is absolutely nowhere near. He's 4 or 5 feet away from the ball at this point.
Yeah. I mean, you'd be fuming if it got given against you, but
I'd be fuming.
Letter of the law. Yeah.
You can't make contact in that sort of context from behind a player as well. It's just for me that one definitely more of a shout. I don't think the Jimmy one was one at all, but the one on Rutter, I think more a pen than not.
We've got a fan here, Gilly. We've made a great victory sound like a defeat. Like we must all that praise we've been heaping on players and stuff. I'm sorry that I'm not bouncing around like this, mate, because it's fucking Saturday morning and I got home at 1 a.m. from Leicester. Fuck's sake. What do you people want?
But this one, so Scooby said no penalty. Rutter ran in front of him, was not deliberate. He can't just disappear. That's irrelevant. If he's made contact with the player and not made contact with the ball, it doesn't matter whether it's deliberate or not.
No, exactly. That one Luke Ayling gave away last season. We're at Arsenal when he were on floor and his leg touched the player, and you were like, "Oh, just pull your leg in," and that wasn't deliberate. That were an accidental touch, but a penalty gets given. You can't complain about it.
Yeah, that's right.
It just is what it is, isn't it?
It is, and because contact is made, that's why I think that is one. So I think just in terms of if you look at the table now, so I think before any games kick off this weekend, I think we're in a position where it feels like we're starting to solidify our playoff spot at least. So I think from a viewpoint of that, if you look at the table, actually, it's really, really close below us. So there's 4 points to Southampton behind us.
Yeah.
They're 1 point in front of West Brom, Cardiff, and Hull, who are only 1 point in front of Sunderland and Preston. It's really what's that?
It's close. It's you can't afford to slip.
No,
we can't keep losing these odd games either against teams like Stoke. This is something that we need to stamp out now. Like you go and you beat Leicester, you've got to be riding crest of a wave from there and believing in yourself, haven't you?
Absolutely. So, and you know, the players won't be looking back. The players will be looking above them and going, we need to catch Ipswich, and then we need to focus on Leicester, which is pretty much what was being said after the game.
Yeah, it's awful when it does that. Do you know you get a better view when you make the tab smaller for some reason? But yeah, it's tight. I mean, 39 points. It's really upsetting. But
yeah, they're still 11 clear of us. But they were, you know,
if
you consider that's a 6-point swing from last night, we'd have been on 25. They'd have been on 42.
Exactly. And there ain't no catching that. There ain't no catching it. They could lose for 2 months and not be caught. Do you know what I mean? If they did that,
which is a bit scary.
I really want Ipswich to lose today, but I can't see it because they're playing Wayne Rooney's Birmingham City, who will never win a game while he's in charge. Good old Birmingham, fucking Rooney, twat. But yeah, it's like you say, it's very tight. I mean, we're on 28. They could be on 27, Southampton, after today, or tomorrow, whenever they play. West Brom could be on 26. I didn't expect them to be up there because they've been pretty shocking when I've seen them. Cardiff too. It's very tight. It's like 1 or 2 defeats has a dramatic effect on the league unless you're in the top 2, and you just have to keep on it now. We've shown we can do it. We've got to have that belief now. We've got to keep going. We can't afford more slip-ups. We are going to lose games in this league. We are. You know, we're not an invincible side. We've got us weaknesses. You have off days. But we have to be making sure that we're winning anything that we can win. We have to be maximum effort every game. We can't be going into anything fearing any teams now. We've gone up to the best side in the league at their place, and we've beat them, and we've shown them how to go on. And their fans are happy. Our fans are over the moon. That's all of it. Keep it going, Leeds. Just keep it going. That belief has to be there now.
Exactly that. And so somebody worked out what our points tally would be at the end of the season if we kept it going just as we are from the start of this season, which also includes those wobbly games against Sheff Wednesday, who if we played now, we'd be putting 5 or 6 past. You know, we needed to get going. Birmingham again were appallingly bad when we played against them, but we didn't get the result we wanted. So I think
that's it. And losing games that we should be winning can't continue. That's something we've got to stamp out.
Yeah, and you know, you're right. Everybody has an off game. You look at Stoke. We were just poor. You know, we didn't deserve anything out of that game. We got what we did deserve. But you know, since
I'd say neither did, to be fair. But it's how it goes, isn't it? If you've got to take your chances or create enough chances.
But Southampton are away at Millwall today.
Right, okay. Well, that's a tough place for them to go.
It's not an easy game for them.
They are shit, Millwall, but they don't make it easy. So
they are. But you know, West Brom are playing Hull. Both of them have been all right this season. Swansea
Hull's been all right. My mate's a Hull fan, and he's been waxing lyrical about them. He's over the moon because they've been shit recently, and they're starting to finally look like they might get in or around the playoffs, which has been probably a long time coming for them as another team that was in the Premier League at one point. Yeah.
So, you know, it is, and they are, I think, joint with Cardiff and West Brom. So that you know, playing against West Brom today will be an interesting one for them. You know,
it's a good one. That
for us, a draw would be all right. You know,
that's best case scenario for us. Definitely, we don't want anyone closing the gap to us, but somebody will, obviously. So but we just have to keep doing our job. And I think that's what exactly Marco will be telling them, because that's the kind of guy he is.
That's exactly it. And if you look at the table and the upcoming fixtures that we've got now, you know, we've got Plymouth, and then we've got Rotherham, and then we've got Swansea at home.
You want to think, a nice easy run, but there isn't one, is there, in Championship?
You want maximum from those 3 games. Yeah, I want and expect. Now that we've beaten Ipswich and we've beaten Leicester, and you know, the dog botherers ate us, and we did them over as well. You know, I think it is that thing that now we've put ourselves in a position where we're in the ascendancy, and it's about keeping that momentum going now, isn't it? More than anything else.
Yeah, don't go back to fucking square one again. Don't slip up. That's all I want to say.
The only thing is we've got another international break. And they're really not helping us. You know, that first one, we spoke about the first one and thinking, actually, this is great timing because now Farke's going to have some dedicated time with the squad where they're not going game to game every 3-4 days. But actually, now that we're in a position where we're trying to build that momentum, you don't want the international break.
No, you don't.
This is the third month in a row. So, yeah, we've
Although
got Plymouth.
Spence might be back after it.
Sorry?
Spence might be back after it, though.
Yeah, I mean, there is that. And I think if there was an area of the pitch, you know, we obviously we spoke about Archie going how well he did last night, but if there's an area of the pitch that you're thinking, actually, we need to do something a bit different here, Spence is and I know that Gray's played right back, and I think we all appreciate how big a future he's got in the game. Spence is a specialist right back and has played at a level that means that he can really drive us forward from that position. So I think, you know, we're all looking forward to that. But equally, Firpo's back.
Yay! Can't wait to see that.
Right.
I don't think he's even going to get on bench, is he, at the moment? Well, things are.
He did. He were on bench last night.
Were he on the bench?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that completely. in my rush to get in there 10 minutes later, I just didn't get to see it like that.
Shax didn't make the squad because of a glute issue.
Okay. That's I won't make any jokes about that.
So
I'd like to have seen that fella try to climb Spence, by the way, because he's 6 foot something, isn't he? So.
Well, Alien's not short though, is he?
He's shorter than that though, isn't he? Is he like 5'9" or 5'10"?
I thought he was 6'1".
Is he? I'm gonna have to look at this now. My
5'9".
knowledge of stuff like this is shocking, mate. So
because
everybody's
everybody's down to you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So his Spence is 1.84 meters and Nailing's 1.83. So he must be about 5'11" or something. Where's my meters to feet converter? I just need to know now because that's how I am. I just need to know. 1.83. Well, he's 6 foot as well. They're just different degrees of 6 foot.
Okay.
Fair enough.
What, you've been really helpful and you've started some comments, so I'm just going to spin through them now.
Yeah, you better do, because I'm starting to go a bit stir crazy now. I'm looking at players' heights and calculating stuff.
So Danny writes with us, "Hi lads, watched a game from Cape Verde last night, an epic 3 points." Danny's old man is a Town fan.
Oh, is he?
So he's probably had a pretty good week. Paul Brennan, hello to all of you lovely people. Hope you're all well. Absolutely buzzing myself. Hi, Paul. Welcome along this morning. And Paul again. There's one thing with the team now; they're all playing with confidence and playing for each other and smiles on their faces.
They are.
I don't know if you saw it in the highlights, but the interview after the game with Ruta and Kamara, have you seen any of it?
No, honestly, I've heard about it, so I'm going to watch it. I just haven't had a chance yet.
Oh, this Ruta, you know, he's got this big beaming. You know how when you used to watch Ronaldinho playing football, and it would just, you just couldn't get over how much he just loved it. He just loves everything about it. That big cheesy grin on his face while ever he were playing. And I'm not for a second saying that Ruta's Ronaldinho, by the way, before anybody gets in the comments and states that. But the way that he enjoys his football when he's playing well, but equally the camaraderie afterwards as well. And you know, he were mad keen. He had the man of the match award in his hand, and he were mad keen to hand it over and comment. And the interviewer had to keep saying, "Just we'll get to that. Just stand down a second. Let's just have a conversation first." And he were just mad keen to big his teammate up, and I think that there's a lot to be said for what Farke's done there, because I think you know, especially with Nonto looking for moves and all the rumours around Jimmy and a lot of the stuff that were going around the squad. There's lots of new faces come in. Byram came in under a bit of a cloud, and I think there's a lot to be said for the way that Farke's managed the entire context, not just the players, not just the individuals, but the entire context. And you can just see that they're really tight knit group. Yeah, but they've all got each other's backs as well, and they're all building each other up, which it was just brilliant. So yeah, if you can, just go back and find the interview afterwards, because it was amazing.
I'll have a watch after this while I make myself some proper food.
Andy's with us. Creativity is great. If his finishing was as good as his passing, he'd be insane. He'd also be in the Champions League.
Yeah, he wouldn't be playing for us, would he?
Yeah. That 35 million, all right, it was a young player, but that 35 million or whatever it was that might go up to 35 or what have you. If you're saying that that's going to be somebody that's prolific in front of goal, then that becomes 100 million, doesn't it? So
it's probably not 35 million, in the end, because I reckon one of the clauses would have been avoiding relegation. So what about?
I couldn't remember whether 35 was including or with add-ons on top of. Enough. I couldn't remember.
If it's
I just remember it being
add-ons as well, that's insane.
Well, I just remember it being reported as our biggest fee, but you don't know whether it's our biggest fee if everything is or whatever else. I can't remember. It's not that important. I need to make a mental note to stop mentioning the fee.
Yeah,
that's in the past as well.
It colours your opinion, doesn't it?
It does. It really does.
You expect maybe more should from a player because it was a big fee.
Yeah, and that's on a previous management structure in the club that's long gone now. So,
well, I love him. So, I think he's great. And I once called him J. Roy Grott II. Well and truly hold my hands up on that one. I was very wrong. But I challenge anybody to have seen what he is now in him when he was first playing for us.
It wasn't there. You couldn't have seen it.
It wasn't there.
It just wasn't there. Lee Fry's with us as well. Marry me, Big Daniel. I'll make you unbelievable happy.
Unbelievable hard.
That's the one. Danny Rumsey, Glenn Kamara, my man of the match. I don't think you'll find many people disagree with that.
No, I was tempted to put a poll up on YouTube, and I just thought there's no point. It can only be Kamara. It was immense.
Yeah. Alison Adams is with us as well. Hi, Alison. I said we'd be beat 2-1, so glad to be wrong. Well, I'd gone 2-1 the other way. You'd have cost the fans in the predictions league, Alison, if we'd have used your prediction there. That'd have been -5, that one. Paul Stoneycoat, to me, that was a statement win by Leeds United. Please, we got the win. Think we stopped them getting a record last night. We did. It would have been their record, 10 in a row. They'd already had the record-breaking start to a league across the first 15 games, I think it was, the record was. So,
what was ours? Was it 8 in a row?
They had ours, did you say?
No, what was our record when we went up? Was it 8 in a row? We had a really good start, didn't we? But
we did.
Russ is in comments, so you might know.
Was that the -15 season?
No, I wasn't on about that one. I was on about the championship. But yeah, that was ace. I tell you, that season I went to every home game except Millwall because I was away, and I was doing what you do, buying individual tickets.
Yeah,
it costs you a fortune, but you don't care, do you?
No,
long as you're there.
The corner Dan James took for Leeds to score from that corner was a perfect delivery. You could see the players appreciate that by running to Dan James. Positivity flowing through the team. It was, I spoke about the frustrations before, it not getting it past the first man and whatever else. But yeah, I think it's good delivery. It's just patchy, good delivery, if that makes sense. You do see that he delivers good balls in, but if that's 1 in 4 or 1 in 5, that it's that consistency that we need. And I think that's a lot of people's critical a lot of people that were critical of Jack Harrison was exactly the same. Sometimes it'd absolutely be inch perfect on a plate, and you go, "Wow, look at that!" And then the next 3 are just hitting the first man, and he stood with hands over the mouth,
and then they go,
"Just go home, lads." Yeah, and then
always
they just
puzzled
roll it to first man.
Yeah, I mean, how can a player be as technically gifted as Jack Harrison and not be able to cross a ball in?
Cross a ball, yeah,
sat in front of his feet. Do you know what I mean? You should be able to pick your spot when you're a professional footballer of any level, really. Yeah, and be able to place a ball.
And it seems that we just can't, and it doesn't matter who's in the team. And the only person that we did have was Sam Greenwood, and we've sent him out, and he's scoring goals.
There are some things that are just Leeds, and bad corners is one of them, regardless of who the players or manager are.
There's a reason there was an alternate Leeds United podcast called Beat the First Man, wasn't there? Scooby, I think he's talking about Jimmy. I loved him shoving that fella and standing his ground after he sort of got kicking goalies. Oh, I missed that bit. I thought it were all a bit of.
See that because it were opposite side to me.
Gilly's Wi-Fi runs on paraffin. That's my Wi-Fi. Andy using next door's internet. No, it was my own mesh internet that I was connected to. I just need to do a bit of work on that. I was stressed. I think Foxes will go up, but don't they lose players to African Nations Cup?
They do.
Now,
are any of those wingers? Are any of those wingers going? Because that'll hurt them.
So it's Mavididi and Fatawu, but I'm not sure. But that you can have a look actually while I continue with the comments if you wanted. But I mean that's for quite a significant amount of time, just going into the new year as well, isn't it? So that would be impactful.
Yeah, it'll take me a while looking for this. I can't be bothered.
Liam B says Archie stood up to one of their best players. Rodon is so massive for us, great mentor for our new captain Strike, who's going to become a great centre back. Byram is playing outstanding. I think that's all fair from last night. I think I'd been critical of Strike in a couple of ways. One, that he was a bit too passive as a player and had made it looked a bit unsure of himself, and the other one too passive as a captain. And I think he did both of them really well last night. So obviously he watches this podcast and has taken my comments on board.
He must do, yeah. He must do. He's Gilly's coaching tips.
That's it. Paul Brennan, the save by Meslier in the last kick of the match. What a first-class save. You can see that at the end as all the players pounce on Meslier. There's a few people that have gone, no, it's over the line, it's over the line. It's definitely not. But
no, it's not.
It was an inch or two. It wasn't far. And so, yeah, he'll deserve any plaudits he gets for that one. And another one, Archie Gray's a special player, will have learned a lot last night because the Foxes have some good players, but Archie ended himself with, maybe that's immense
Immense
pride, and Archie will learn a lot more.
He always writes it like that.
Right, okay. This is a really interesting point, and I think this only comes from the shape, because Farker would have been aware of this. Scooby says, I was probably most surprised there seemed to be no real ball over the top to Vardy. At times, Pascal was pushed up quite a lot. I think we were almost trying to tempt that because, Vardy's quick, but Rodon's quick as well. Now, he might not be quite Vardy quick, but he's also much bigger than him. So I think any of the balls over the top, we had Meslier fairly far out off his line and Rodon alive to any runs off the back of us. But it didn't feel to me like the midfield added the option. All it was Fish and Co at the back just knocking balls long. It wasn't that ball over the top or down the channel for somebody to run onto. It was just a long ball and they didn't get anything from it.
Out to the wingers every time, and the wingers tried to come into the box and put balls in. That was the plan. Yeah. They weren't going through the middle at all. Jesse Marsh, he didn't die for this.
Liam B, the front are all playing for each other. All four of them putting a shift last night. A great header by Byron pushed out to Rutter to score. Yeah, absolutely. But on and Paul Somerville impressive last night. Jay was an all-rounder last night.
Yeah, he was. He was everywhere, and he did everything that were asked of him. I especially like the way, I was going to mention this as well, that when we were defending and we sat back and they were coming at us, I love the way that we doubled up on the wingers, using our wingers to do that.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. It really frustrated them. It didn't allow them to get the out ball that they wanted in many cases. It closed them down and disrupted what they were trying to do. And I was wondering if other teams might look at what we did and try and replicate that against them.
So the only team that have really gone at Leicester that I've seen and that other people have mentioned so far, at least, was Sunderland. And I think Leicester counted themselves really lucky to get away with 3 points against Sunderland, and they'd done pretty much what we did. So I don't even know if Parker's looked at what Sunderland did and gone, we can do that only better.
Because we are better.
Well, yeah. We should be better than Sunderland. We're a relegated team that's been able to sign. I mean, I think we've spent 12 million on our midfield, and we've got Kamara and Anthony in there. And
it's mental, isn't it?
It's incredible, really.
It's mad to think that selling Tyler Adams bought those players.
Yeah, and we've improved.
And I reckon each one of them individually is better than Tyler Adams.
Yeah, I think
out of Kamara and Ampadu, anyway.
Yeah, it's not even just that, is it? They're also available for the games.
Yeah,
which is
they're not injured permanently.
Yeah.
Fuck's sake, man. Honestly, right, when you look back, and I hate saying this, but relegation was probably the best thing that happened to us. Because we'd have been saddled with those players. Yeah. I didn't want to go down. I was like, no, that's ridiculous. It's stupid. It's a backwards step. But just being able to get shut of all that lot and get these players in who you can see they're all good enough. Yeah. They're all good enough to step up. Like, we might not be amazing initially, but I believe those players can grow into Premier League football if we get there. I don't think there's, anyone in the first 11 really that wouldn't at least give a good account of themselves.
The really big concern for me is the Ben White situation with Rodon.
Yeah. And we know how that goes.
Yeah. So
we just have to make sure that if they say no, we just say, all right, then. And we move on.
Yeah. But I think it's one of those where if they are open to a deal, that we try and get that done in January. I think if we make one, if we bring in one additional player, maybe a creative 10, and we sign Rodon, I'm okay with that. I don't think we need a big influx of players, and I'm not even certain that we'd massively need a 10. I think my only concern is if Pirot's goals dry up, what else does he offer? And who else do we have to bring in? Well, we've got Bamford, who you've melted down for glue.
Yeah, he's already dead to me. If we got a 10, who do you drop? Because you have to keep Pirot in case he gets a good chance.
I think it's one of those
and
where
you have to keep Ruter in.
I think it's one of those for me. We've got Anthony to come on, and we've got Nonto to come on in the wings, and we can play Jimmy in the 10, and we can play Nonto up front. But I think for me, having another person in there, if one of those gets a long-term injury, all of a sudden we look light again.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? That's the problem.
It's a long season, and especially over that. I mean, I know the January window comes too late for this, but over that Christmas and New Year period, the games are every 2-3 days, and coming out of that period, bringing in somebody else that can just take a bit of emphasis off those players that'll be carrying us through that period of creating and scoring the goals. I can't see that being a bad thing. I don't think it's as critical as I thought it was at the start of the season.
That's unfair.
Oh, who's Jimmy? Yeah, sorry, Jimmy Somerville.
Maybe he's too young. I mean, we've got depth everywhere except probably 9 and 10.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Because I don't count Bamford anymore. He's persona non grata. So
and Matteo Joseph doesn't seem to be getting much look in.
Yeah, that's curious.
Yeah, we've got other players out on loan. Greenwood fancied himself as an attacker. I know that other people saw him playing differently, but we'll not talk about that anymore.
Yeah, I don't think Perkins will come back and stake a claim. I think he's probably
and that's
finished.
A really strange one as well because he was so highly rated at West Ham.
His attitude stinks, though, by all accounts, doesn't it?
Right, okay. Yeah, I mean, and that's the point in it. You never really know. And I think Farke, in exactly the same way as Bielsa, will be one of those where if they're not pulling the weight in training, they're gone.
Yeah, exactly. There's no point having people around club who are just a disruptive influence or who aren't putting effort in because there's lads who do want to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
There's people who are desperate to play for Leeds United.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can see that in the way that they're playing at the moment. You can see that. So it'd be too disruptive. And that's where I'm saying actually about who do you bring in and who do you drop? Actually, we're wanting to bring in somebody that's going to be part of that unit that's going to work with the players that we've already got and not work against them. And, they'll all look at the goal scoring charts and all of that, but they're all really happy for each other. Dan James got the plaudits for the goal, as was pointed out in the comments.
Danny says Perkins has not played a game at Oxford yet.
Wow.
Is that true?
Wow. We'll have to do a loan watch for one of the main pods.
Scuba says, because he's Dutch, I like Somerville, but he's no Jimmy. He smiles so much, doesn't possess a cannon in his feet. We're not talking about Hasselbank.
No,
there was a singer called Jimmy Somerville.
Was a singer in the 80s. Sorry,
that's why.
Even when I mentioned it, I didn't really make it clear. No, Jimmy Somerville was a singer in the 80s. That's why. That's the only other Somerville I know. But whenever I hear Somerville, all I think of is Jimmy.
I hope we've cleared that up for you, Scuba.
Communards? I'm just going to have to check. Was it the Communards? Yeah, Bronski beating the Communards he was in. So
I don't know.
Go and have a listen. Just a couple more comments. Scooby again. It's a foul on Bill, hand on shoulder, climbing, impeding jump, great reaction, Dillian. It is that.
And again, nothing from the officials.
Yeah. Which we come.
They wanted Leicester to score.
Yeah.
Did you see the end when we went past 96 minutes and everyone's whistling for the ref? It wasn't going to blow till their attack stopped.
Yeah.
He gave them a last chance.
Even my young one was screaming because I was getting really antsy because it's like, it's 96 and a half, ref, what are you doing? And
it got to like 97 minutes.
And he was jumping around going, what's he doing? And then just one last comment. Russ is in the comments as well. Welcome along, Russ. What signing Kamara has been for us this season? Him and Ampadu have been immense. Player of the match for me last night, Kamara was. Yeah, as I said, you're going to find a few people disagreeing with that.
Spot
on. Right. Okay. So, I've just got one apology to make as well. So, Dremit's in the comments. No podcasts up on the apps again, boys. Making me listen to Football Daily and 606 and shit like that. Help a hardworking brother out. What a game, what a result, boom. I'm taking all of that because I do all of the audio uploads and then seed them out across all the various different apps. And I was selfish enough to go on holiday this week for half term, I'm afraid. So that's all.
And I will just say, it's not because the rest of us are lazy bastards. It's because Gilly's the one who has the login to the app.
Because I'm a control freak. You can say I'm a control freak. It's okay.
Well, no, I know you've got some personal details linked to it, and you don't trust any of us not to sell you out or something. I don't know, steal your identity.
So,
probably
yeah,
fair.
But it will all be up and it will all be sorted, so they'll all be there for you to listen back to. So that just brings us on. So we've got a main pod before our next game, so we don't need to look ahead. So just a question to you now is just anything else to say before we close?
Nothing, mate. I'm a happy Jay this weekend. My entire weekend's relaxed now. I'm gonna watch some sweaty men throw each other around in WWE this afternoon.
All right, okay.
Yeah, we'll try to find the right words.
And I have been away this week, so I've not really kept an eye on it. But I have got absolutely no idea what's been going on Twitter this week and what on earth has gone on. So at least it's human and human contact.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's it. And there's Formula One as well, which I'm a big fan of. So I'll be watching that this afternoon. Qualifying, sprint, and all that bollocks that they do now. Just relaxing otherwise because Leeds won and we're all happy.
It's nice, isn't it? Because a Friday night game has a real opportunity to derail your entire weekend. So it's nice to pick up 3 points against top of the league and stop them breaking their own record.
It does. It's just fantastic. I mean, you can just relax now, watch other games, and you're not like worrying, watching them, thinking, "Oh God."
If we'd have only just got 3 points, we'd have been there.
And it does put a bit of pressure on Ipswich, the fact that we've got our points on the board already.
That's it. Yeah, they've got games in hand, but that's games in hand don't mean anything unless you turn them into points, do they? So
exactly.
Cool. Well, there's a positive to finish on.
Absolutely.
Rather than wresting defeat from the jaws of victory or whatever we were accused of doing.
Hey, look, we're down to earth on this podcast. We don't go nuts. It's just how we are. It's just how we are.
And it's a bit early to
crazy if that's what people want.
It's a bit early to have a beer like we do on the usual on the main pods as well. So
it is, to be fair. I've got a Guinness cup where it's had coffee in it. So even for me, it's too early for that. So yeah.
Cool. So thank you, Jay. Thank you, everybody, for getting involved in the comments. As I said, there will be a main podcast coming up on Tuesday, and all of the audio podcasts will be sorted today for you to go back and listen. So if you've missed them, thanks, everybody, for getting involved, and we'll see you again soon. Have a good weekend.
Adios.